This is a review of commands in Spanish, and we will talk about the usted, ustedes commands, the two affirmative commands, as well as two negative commands, and then finally we'll go over how to formulate commands with object pronouns. The usted and ustedes commands are the formal commands, and they're formed with the present subjunctive. Here, what we'll do is go from a regular AR, ER, or IR verb and start with the yo form of that verb in the present tense. Then we'll take off the O and add on the subjunctive endings. For an AR verb, those would be a, and en, and for ER, IR verbs, that's a and an. So, with hablar, the commands are hable for usted and hablen for ustedes. For comer, it's coma and coman, and for vivir, it's viva and vivan. Negatives are formed by placing no before the verb. All stem-changing verbs will have the stem change in the usted and ustedes command form. So if you have pensar, that will be piense for usted, and piensen for ustedes. For volver, that's vuelva and vuelvan. Verbs ending in car, gar, zar will have a spelling change in the usted, ustedes command forms. For car, CAR verbs, it will go to QU. For GAR verbs, it will go to GU. And ZAR verbs will go to C. So we have sakar, sake with a QU, saken. Llegue for llegar with GU. And then lleguen for ustedes. And for empezar, we have empiece and empiecen with a C. Another example of verbs that have a spelling change in the subjunctive are verbs ending in GER and GIR. These verbs are going to change from a G to a J in the usted and ustedes command forms. So we have dirigir going to dirija and dirijan with a J, and recoger going to recoja and recojan also with a J. Verbs that have an irregular yo form in the present tense are going to have an irregular subjunctive form. So that shows up in the usted and ustedes commands as well. So for example, traer is going to go to traigo, take off the O, add the a ending for subjunctive, and you have traiga and traigan. So examples of that are salir for going to salga, salgan, hacer going to haga, hagan, poner going to ponga, pongan, decir going to diga and digan, and venir going to venga and vengan. Other examples of this include tener, tenga, tengan, traer, traiga, traigan, caer, caiga, caigan, reducir, reduzca, reduzcan, traducir, traduzca, traduzcan, conocer, conozca, conozcan, ofrecer, ofrezca, ofrezcan. This is not an exhaustive list, these are just some examples. And especially if you look at reducir, traducir, conocer, ofrecer, any of these verbs that end in CIR or CER, they also follow this pattern. There are just 5 verbs that are completely irregular in the subjunctive, and that is dar, ir, ser, estar, and saber. So these verbs are going to be de and den for usted and ustedes, vaya, vayan, sea, sean, este, esten, sepa, and sepan. Now we will move on to informal or familiar or to commands. And we're going to talk specifically about affirmative to commands, telling someone, yes, do something. And these are formed using the third person singular, which is also the el, ea, usted form of the present tense. There is no s on the end of the affirmative to command. So with comer, it's just simply come. Hablar is habla, Escribir, escribe. Leer, lee. Apagar, apaga. Dormir, duerme. Almorzar, almuerza. Pedir, pide. And secar, seca. There's just a list of 8 irregular affirmative to commands, and these are all one syllable each. So these are just verbs that need to be memorized for the affirmative to commands because they're completely irregular. So we have decir, hacer, ir, ser, poner, venir, tener, and salir. And the forms are di, has, ve, se, pon, ven, ten, and sal. Now, moving on to the negative command form, we're going to go back to using the present subjunctive. So this means that we're going to go to the to form of the present subjunctive, which always has an S on the end. So going back to that same subjunctive conjugation we used for usted and ustedes, we'll just add an S on the end to do the negative to command. So using the list of irregular affirmative to commands, the one-syllable ones, we're going to now switch them to the negative and say no digas, no vengas, no salgas, no tengas, no pongas, no hagas, no seas. Here it's important to remind ourselves that all the subjunctive conjugation rules, including stem changers, cargar zar, ger, gir verbs, irregular yo forms, and irregular verbs apply here. So see the usted and ustedes command section for a review of that. More examples of these negative to commands with S on the end can be found here. So comer goes to no comas, hablar no hables. So see that the ending is the opposite ending from the regular present tense. So comer er verb with as, the a ending. Hablar regular ar verb with the s e ending. Escribir no escribas, leer no leas, apagar no apagues. So see the cargar zar spelling change there. Dormir no duermas. See the stem change in that one. Almorzar no almuerces. The cargar zar, the zar changing to a c there. And no pidas, also with a stem change there. Finally, we'll move into talking about object pronouns. For object pronouns, it's important to note the positioning, the placement in the sentence for affirmative and negative commands. They're different. For affirmative commands, we're saying yes. They're yes commands. So we say yes, attach. And they go at the end of the verb, attached to the verb. It's all one word. For negative commands, we put the object pronouns in front of the verb. There are no commands. We're saying no. So we say don't attach. Put them in front of the verb as separate words. Everything stays separate as a separate word. For two or more object pronouns, you're either going to have one object pronoun, in which case, just attach the one or just put the one before the verb. But if you have two object pronouns, you're going to put them in this order. Indirect before direct, reflexive first of all, and you could also say RID, reflexive, indirect, and then direct. The possible combinations for that are indirect and then direct, reflexive and then direct, or reflexive and then indirect. You'll never have all three together. And then finally, one thing to remember is that if you have lay or lace, and then that's followed by lo, la, los, or las, you're going to have lay, lo, or lay, la, lay, los, lay, las, lace, lo, lace, la, lace, los, or lace, las. In all these cases, you're repeating that l sound, and we will change the lay or lace to say to avoid that double L sound. Here's some practice with object pronouns. As we said before, in the affirmative command, attach the pronoun. In the negative command, write the pronoun between the no and the command. They stay as separate words. Comparing the affirmative and negative commands, it's important to note here that I've highlighted in blue. In the affirmative command, you're doing third person singular of present tense, so that is hierve, corta, saca, pon, which is irregular, sirve, seca, and trae. And then for the negative command, that changes to the subjunctive endings with S. So hierbas, cortes, saques, pongas, sirvas, seques, traigas. Next, the objects that are being attached in the affirmative are going right on the end, and we're putting an accent mark on the second to last syllable of the original verb. Hierve, corta, saca, sirve, seca, trae. So as you see here, that accent mark is going on the second to last syllable of the circled original verbs before you attach the object pronouns to it. On the negative side, you're simply putting the object pronouns before the command. So after the no, before the command, and they're a separate word. Here are some examples where we have both an indirect and a direct object. So when we see here, los utensilios are los, a tu mamá, that's le, preparar la cena is la, a tu familia is le, servir la cena is la, a tu familia is le. Okay, as we see here, we're going to put indirect before direct, so when we attach, it's going to be da se los, the le here, changing to a se, and then prepara se la, the le again changing to a se because it's le la, two L's in a row, and then sirve se la, also the le changing to a se because it's two L's in a row. On the negative side, we have the same thing. No se los des, no se la prepares, no se la sirvas. I've put here as well a note on accents. So when you have an affirmative command with more than one syllable, you're going to add an accent when you attach one or more object pronouns to the end of the verb. So something like prepara up here is going to have an accent on the second to last syllable of the original verb. You're going to not include those object pronouns attached to the end in your counting. Sirve, same way, it's the second to last syllable of the original verb on this command with two or more syllables originally. But if you have a verb like an affirmative command like da with one syllable only, including all of the irregular, that list of short forms, you're only going to add an accent to that original command when you attach two object pronouns to the end of the verb. And this is because if you only had, for instance, dale, you wouldn't need to put an accent on this first syllable because it's only a two-syllable word. But if we change this to da, se, lo, now we have three syllables. We want that accent, that stress, to still be on the first syllable, so we're going to add in the accent on that original one-syllable verb. I hope this presentation has helped review and clear up some important aspects of the commands in Spanish. You can watch and also refer to the PDF of this presentation that I've also posted on Schoology. So use this in case you've missed class or you just want to review, and let me know if you have any questions on specific commands or rules relating to commands. Okay, buena suerte.